flow going throughout your day because time is super precious. So I'm going to tell you about what my flow is. First, I find an account I want to work with. Usually a good account for us, the criteria is that they have to have a sales team with at least 10 to 300 reps. They have to be using Salesforce. That's usually a minimum criteria for us. I want them to be prospecting and their prospects have to be online. That's our basic criteria. If those things aren't true, I don't really want to go after an account. Next, I go and try and find someone using LeadIQ and LinkedIn. I'll go to LinkedIn Sales Navigator, I'll find the prospect that I have, I'll look and read their profile. Here's the thing that I do that a lot of people make the mistake of doing. I'll see if we actually can get their contact info. I'm not going to lie to you, we're not always going to get your contact info. That's the nature of these data tools. Whether you use a database, you use us, you use a competitor, I don't care what you use, you're not always going to find the exact contact data that you're looking for all the time. After I get that stuff, I see if the email comes back verified, and if I have a phone number, and if I have those two things, I capture the person, send it into SalesLoft and Salesforce simultaneously with one click using LeadIQ. After I get that data, I'm in SalesLoft. My first step is a blank email template with a little boilerplate sentence that I'm going to mention about LeadIQ. I'm going to write a customized email. I'll look at their profile and see if I can find an angle about something that they did with their activity recently, something that I might have in common with them. If I don't see anything on LinkedIn, I'll fall back and talk about the company. Sometimes I'll go on their Facebook if I can find it really quick and see if we have something in common, maybe a movie we both like or something. Then I write copy. And the copy that I write in my email will be really heavily focused on personalization and on them, not focusing on our product or service. So I'll mention something like, hey, I saw you did this. I love that you did that. It's super cool. I'll give my opinion on something they might have commented on. Next step, I'll follow the prospect and add them on LinkedIn with a personalized request, obviously. In my personalized request, I'll mention that I wrote an email to them. I noticed this is what was really special about you, which is why I added you. And it shouldn't be stuff like boring stuff like mutual connections, all that stuff. You just got to jump right in and be honest. Don't use generic phrases. Think about what the prospect's going through. Put yourself in their shoes. If they open the email, I'm calling them. Now, if I call them, I mention what I put in my email. Hey, blah, blah, I wrote you an email the other day. I mentioned that I have a corporate shopper with a suitcase full of money. Do you remember that email? Oh, you didn't read it? Let me tell you a little bit more about why I'm actually emailing you. Right there, you're talking about something on the cold call that relates to the prospect, isn't about your product or service. Now, when you're actually talking to the person on the call, you don't have to go and pitch your product or service. Say, hey, I actually reached out to you because this reason, you're very special to me. This is why you're special to me. And that's what it comes down to, is you need to prove to the prospect why you're special to the person. If they don't answer the phone, by the way, I leave a voicemail and I write an email that says, hey, I sent you a voicemail. I mentioned this specific thing. And I make sure the thing that I always mention is really unique. You can do all kinds of cool stuff. You want to be unique. You don't want to blend in with like the other sales reps that are there. Talk up the prospect that you're talking to. Don't just talk about their company, because all the other reps are talking about their company. Talk about them as an individual, because they have individual interests, individual motivations that they're trying to get. After that, I usually will go and touch them with follow-up. Pretty much every 3 or 4 days, I'll write a really quick email. The email that I write in my follow-up is really focused on what I said in the first couple emails, what I mentioned, and maybe I'll throw in a different value prop instead. If they don't hear back from me, usually my second to last touch that I'll do, I'll send a video to them. In the video, I'll completely customize it and be about them. But that's my prospecting flow. And I usually can hear back from anywhere from like 30 to 40% of the people that I write to using this flow. The other part that takes a lot of time is actually finding accounts. We're doing a little talk with Alex from LeadSift and Corey Bray, who, if you don't know who Corey Bray is, he's a badass. But we're going to be talking about what accounts to go after when you're prospecting, because that's half the battle sometimes. Look for a link, you can sign up for it.